Okay.
Wonderful. It's recording now.
Yes, we're recording. Okay, good. So thank you for joining me today to just have this little conversation. I thought this was a great time to pause and just reflect on the progress that you've made in really a relatively short amount of time. 7 or 8 one-on-one 50-minute sessions is not a whole
Mhm.
lot of time. And there's been some big shifts going on in your life. So I'm going to kind of leave it general like that and just say, what would you like to share about what changes that you're seeing in your life, in your speech, in yourself? What comes up to your mind first?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to share and to discuss. And yeah, this 7 to 8 weeks process is really helpful to me. I was bothered by the by some of the stuttering that I have been having, stuttering problem that I have been having for a relatively long time, for probably, I don't know, 15 year, 20 year since I was a child.
Yeah.
But this 7 to 8 weeks process really changed how I see about my stuttering issue. And I see it from a different angle now compared to compared to prior to our prior to starting of this journey. And right now I feel that I can directly face it. I can accept it. This is part of myself. And um, I do not, or I have a good view of what this issue really is, or what how I should be thinking of the stuttering compared to before. And after those exploration, and you have been tremendously helpful during this process. Yeah, I think I feel I feel normal, or I feel natural, and very much acceptive to it compared to before I even do not want to mention it. So yeah, this is some fundamental change, and I really like where I am right now. I can directly facing it. We can have a discussion. Basically, yeah. I feel very good compared to before.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of like, for instance, the before picture that you drew, or you kind of like pulled stuff off of the internet to visually express how it felt inside and how you
Yes.
were relating to your stuttering. Do you
Mhm.
want to explain a little bit of what it felt like then? And just checking in where you're at now at this
Mhm.
point. Not that we're finished with therapy or stopping, it's just we're touching base and, you know, bringing to light sometimes the change that people are making, the various changes, they don't see it when it's
Mhm.
happening. And we were talking the other week, maybe a week or so ago, and just really your awareness um of the changes that are happening is really helpful and motivating to your own, process also. I thought it might be nice to have you on video sharing because it can help other people either
Mhm. I
have
agree.
hope for their own journey, who are in a place of feeling very hopeless, but also for people who are in their journey that maybe are, people go at different rates. And I thought it would be interesting to explore what are the pieces coming to the table that are kind of moving you forward pretty quickly in a lot of these changes. So
Yeah.
anything you want to
Sure.
say about that or sharing about the kind of visuals that represented your stuttering before and then where you're at now, like right when we started therapy to
Yeah,
where.
definitely. Yeah, I feel that, yeah, when we start the therapy, um I think I was for the stuttering piece, I was not feeling good. for the past few years or past many years of my life, uh, I have been having an idea in my mind that stuttering is not okay. Stuttering is not acceptable. It's a terrible thing to have. And I should try to avoid it from happening as much as possible. So I have been having this idea for a relatively long time since I was a child. And this idea puts me into a difficult situation regarding to the stuttering piece of myself, right? And I've and this is not definitely not helpful. The more that I'm thinking of it, the more that I'm trying to avoid it. This is not helping the situation. The more I got nervous, the more that I cannot control myself. Um, it's a kind of like a negative cycle.
Mhm.
And before that we start the process, um, I feel that I was, for the starting piece, I was locked in a prison cell, so-called,
Mhm.
and it was relatively dark. This was, like gray. The color is gray.
Yeah.
I see no light because I see no hope. I tried, I I tried different things, and those things are generally helpful, but based on my own study, this stuttering cannot be cured, or the chance of it getting cured when I am an adult is very low. So this will likely be with me for my life. And with that understanding, and with my previous concept that this is not acceptable, this is bad, this will impact me significantly. Yeah, I felt hopeless during that time. So
Mm.
I feel that I was locked in a hopeless dark prison cell before.
Do
And actually,
Can you actually share without mentioning any kind of programs or names of anything, the
mm,
kind of work that you were pursuing and doing um, before we got connected? Yeah.
yeah, sure. I did the fluency training program, or yeah, fluency training therapy. And I think it's helpful. It tells me based on some scientific study, and it tells me what are some techniques that I should be using during daily conversation or during conversation that will avoid stuttering from happening as much as possible. So and I did extensive training. I did like hours per day, and for many days, extensive training, trying to get used to it, trying to feel about it, trying to understand it, and I think it's helpful. But on the other hand, this still did not set me free. I still like having that training is very helpful. But on the other hand, the purpose of that training is to avoid stuttering from happening. And although after the training, the chance of starting happening to me gradually reduced, but still I cannot control it. It's still part of me that I cannot change, no matter how I I try to avoid it from happening. So sometimes I still feel frustrated. I feel slightly better after the training compared to before because the chance of it happening was reduced.
Mhm.
But I still don't feel free. I still feel trapped, and I still feel concerned because one of the things that with stuttering, I think that many of people who stutter will share the feeling is that we cannot control it. For a day, for whatever reason, I have no problem. Even without any training, without any technique, I can speak as fluent as possible, or exactly like a normal person. Don't bother by this issue. But maybe on another day, I don't know why, it all of a sudden happened. It's like a crush. And then all of a sudden, I feel I feel my voice is jammed. I feel I forget about how to talk normally. And when those happens, previously I feel terrible. So that was, and this uncertainty without my willingness or without the ability to have myself control it, well, it's not feeling good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which led you to continue searching for other ways to approach, deal with stuttering.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Yeah. So that methodology was helpful. And yeah, I'd like to see how if there's other possibilities that can be also helpful to me to solve this issue. So I was continued, searching on the internet online, trying to find professionals talking about stuttering, talking about their methodology to treat it. And I found one of your video, and I thought it's very interesting. The idea concept is interesting, and I reached out to schedule the first session and see and trying to explore, and I'm glad that I did it.
Well, I'm glad you did too.
Thank you, thank you.
It's been a pleasure working with you.
Likewise.
And one of the things is that so people come to therapy at different points. Some of them are kind of testing stuff out, but not quite ready to like really go all in with it. And other people are like, oh my gosh, I'm ready now. I feel
Mhm,
like you arrived at a good time where you did. And I see this happen. Some people sometimes do need to really try some fluency control strategies and then
mhm.
see, oh, that's not really getting me to the freedom that I want. Yes, I can control my speech with tremendous effort and focus over
Mhm.
time, right? Just on a physical perspective. And you were putting in what, like at least 2 hours a day?
Yes,
And it was for months, right? Not just
yes.
days. Yeah, for months. So you're determined. You are determined. You are a hard worker. You are smart. You are open. And so you were willing to say, you're a good problem solver. Like, hey, this helps in this fashion, but is this really getting to the root? Am I really getting more free?
Yes,
Um,
correct.
and when am I going to be able to stop practicing 2 hours a day?
Mhm,
I still have the fluctuation of stuttering. I still don't feel free. I can produce a lot of fluency, but what are my goals really? Hold on. Let's take a step back. And then that's when I intersected with you and you were open to see like, oh, maybe there's a different way. Maybe this control piece, and I'm glad you brought that term up, control, because inherently the moment of stuttering is a loss of control.
mhm.
And
Yes,
that
correct.
feels uncomfortable and oftentimes scary.
Mhm.
It can alarm the brain. The limbic system can get very involved. And depending on each person's disposition and resiliency and nervous system regulation, sometimes those experiences with stuttering, the
Mhm.
response of other people or your own internal response can be like little trauma experiences.
Yep.
Just trauma, meaning the brain's a little overloaded to be able to handle that in the moment. So we started to dig into this in a different way, actually, with like some fresh eyes of, hey, there is the brain's involved here. There's a control thing. I'm trying to control more, not quite getting to me where I want to be. And I started introducing some new concepts to you. Do you want to follow up with kind of where your visual is at this moment in time? And then maybe we can segue into some of the concepts that you really thought deeply about because you took them home each week and you thought on these ideas and came back and said, or emailed me like, wow, that's really like opened my mind. And, I'm thinking differently now and I'm feeling, let's talk about maybe if you can remember back now, I know it's been several weeks, but what were some of those concepts in the sessions that started to shift things for you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember a few things that were tremendously helpful. For example, when we had previous discussion, you guided me start to think, what is the real purpose? What is the problem? What is what is the issue I'm trying to solve? Is it the issue like reduce stuttering as much as possible? Is this really the issue? Is it really the root cause that I'm trying to solve? What do I want to be? And when I start to think about that, actually, I think the goal is not to have zero stutter. It's not to get rid of it. It's actually how I can be a more effective communicator. My communication, how I can be efficient on having communication. And what is goal for me talking to others, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah, the goal should be something like enjoy, feel joyful, feel connected, feel good about having conversation, and also sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, having a discussion, having basically having a positive interaction
Mm,
with people.
mm,
And hopefully that I can share something that will be helpful to you, and you can share something will be helpful to me. We feel good about talking, discussing, connected like human being.
mm,
This is the goal
mm,
for communication, for most of the communication, either sharing an idea, having a discussion, trying to solve a problem. But this should be most of the goals for communication.
mm,
And the goal is not trying to pronounce perfectly. The goal is not trying to speak as much fluent as possible. And actually, we had some mock session or mock talking that, yeah, when you study when you speak really fast without any pause, without any stop, this will make me feel uncomfortable or not familiar with how to receive all those information from a listener perspective. So is this really the goal? Like speaking as fast as possible, there's no stop, and trying to be very fluent and trying to like dump all the information to you while we are trying to have a discussion or conversation? No, this is not the goal.
mm,
So when I start to think about that, what am I trying to do?
mm,
I start to realize, oh,
mm,
actually, I'm not trying to solve stuttering issue. I'm trying to be a more effective communicator by by exploring by exploring ways how to do that.
mm,
And it's actually in my mind that I put those previously, right? I put those things equally. I think
mm,
that having starting problem will significantly prevent me the ability to become a effective communicator. It's I mean, because this idea has been in my mind, starting is terrible, I should try to avoid it
yes,
from happening as much as possible for 20 years
yeah.
or longer or even longer. So when I did not realize the difference between the problem that what I think is the problem and what actually the problem is, or what am I trying to solve.
Mm,
And having our conversation, having our discussion, you very helpfully open up this idea and let me think, what am I trying to resolve? What am I trying to improve? Then I start to figure out, actually, wait a minute, those two things are not equal.
mm,
The stuttering is just a piece of communication. The fluency is just a piece of communication. There
mm,
are other pieces,
yeah.
which many of them are more important to be a effective communicator
Yeah.
compared to how fluently you were saying your words. Yeah, when I realized this idea, then I think, wow, I have been, I have been, seems like the problem that I was trying to solve is actually not the true goal, the key goal I'm trying to achieve.
Mm,
I was just trying to solve a smaller piece of it, while while the target or the overall goals should be much, much larger compared to this only, one narrow piece of many things.
Mm.
This fundamentally changed my view. That's the first thing. What
Mm.
we're trying to solve, right? I spent lots of time. I spent hours and hours, 100 hours, 200 hours, I don't know, trying to solve an issue should not be an issue, and or should only be a very minor issue compared to the real goal I'm trying to get. That's that changed my view fundamentally. So that's the first piece.
Mm.
And the second piece is that when you show me the video, I was looking at video like have stuttering people have similar stuttering problem. We're doing public speech. We're sharing how they were out from this box, from this cell, and basically set them free and talk publicly about actually very openly about their stuttering issue. And you were sharing with me also a video. It's a New York Times, right? New York Times interview.
Yeah.
A seems like a very good reporter was sharing his starting journey,
Yeah.
and during that interview, he still had some starting moments, but when he was sharing, he shared very openly, very confident, and the listener was very patient. And when I put myself into the listener mode, when I listened to the overall, or when I watched the overall video, listen to how did he share his thoughts, his ideas, I feel like, do I bother about do I bother with his stuttering, or do I enjoy the information he was sharing throughout the conversation? And I mean, having stuttering during his conversation, it's just a way that he expressed himself. And when he openly, confidently telling people, "Hey, I sometimes stutters. It might sometimes take longer for me to get word out. I appreciate you be patient, but I'm hoping to share the information. I think it will be interesting, at least interesting for you to understand." Something like that, right? So when he started to share, it was like a 6 minute session. And when he started to share, throughout the session, at least to myself, I did not feel bothered at all about the starting that he had during those conversations. And this actually changed my perspective a lot as well, from the speaker mode to a listener mode. My concern was always that this is in my previous imagination, always the listener will feel terrible about one having stuttering problem when they're having a conversation. The listener, I imagine the listener will feel, oh, this guy is weird. What what he is doing? He even cannot say something fluently. Can I trust this guy? Can I work with this guy? Can I, like, this is not a how should I say? This is not a normal human being. That was some concept in my idea before, in my mind before. But when I really listen to it from the listener mode for a longer conversation, not like 30 seconds, not 1 minute, 4 to 5 minutes conversation, when he confidently, openly sharing his journey, sharing his thoughts, sharing what was bothering him and how he solved it and where he is now, I feel, wow, I'm not bothered about he sometimes having stuttering, sometimes have like severe stuttering during those conversations, but I'm not bothered. He was transparent, straightforward, confident, open, communicator, and I respect it. I think it's actually admirable to see that he was very openly sharing, and I think I enjoy the conversation, although I was not sitting there to have that conversation, but I enjoyed what he was sharing. So this also significantly changed my view. Actually, I start to think, oh, human beings are kind of similar. If I'm the listener, the way that he started and the way that he was openly dealing with that stuttering did not impact of my willingness to hear the conversation, to receive the information, even to enjoy the conversation. So why should I be bothered? I sometimes have stutter during my conversation.
Yes, I love that. You're tapping into some really key points as you're going along, many of them. But one of them is the narrative that is in your own mind,
Yes.
story that you tell yourself about your own stuttering, but also
Mm.
about how others perceive you.
Mhm.
And the beautiful thing is been watching and being a witness to your awakening to this and being able to start changing your beliefs.
Yes, correct.
Now, some people need to write down and go through an awareness process like, what are my thoughts about stuttering? What am I thinking as I'm walking around all day? Some people are thinking about it all day long.
Mhm.
Others are kind of coming in and out of it, and especially just when in speaking situations. And then sometimes they write down, it's more of a cognitive behavioral approach. Well, what do I want to bring in? What's going to help me instead? What happened with you was more of an inquiry process, which is so beautiful. There's questions I usually ask clients, but a lot of yours happened on your own, where I asked fewer questions, but your mind did an inquiry process of questioning. Is this really true? What am I believing? Does this actually hold water? And then observing others who stutter and seeing, wow, this is effective communication. I don't care if this guy's stuttering.
Mhm.
What am I doing? Okay, you literally dropped and changed beliefs like that,
Exactly.
which is a much
Exactly.
quicker process. Like when you deeply think the way you did, it changed your neurology. It's too hard to explain the details of that, but it shifted some of how
Mhm.
your brain is set up to think about this versus,
Exactly.
okay, I'm thinking this, it's not helping when I think hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And then I say, you have as much time as you need, you have as much time as you need. I have to do that repetitively over and over to start shifting into this mode. It's another way you can do it.
Mhm.
But yours happened again. Another thing I think why things are going quickly for you is that you're a deep thinker and you thought and you said, I'm willing to drop that old belief. I see it's not serving me and I'm embracing this new one. And you may still be like a deer, that just has been born and you're learning to walk in
Yeah,
these new
exactly.
ways.
Yeah.
So you have a process ahead, but you're like, I'm learning to walk in this new way. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's just been really neat. So the narrative you tell yourself and being aware of that's a really important piece in this whole therapy process for most of the clients that I work with. And what am I telling myself about what other people are thinking? And how can I change that?
Mhm.
Okay, so I know you had more to share here, so go ahead. That was, I think, two things that made a
Yeah,
really
two
big
things.
impact and a shift for you. All right, I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear what else. I don't know what you're going to say,
Thank
so
you.
I think this is
Thank you.
great.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know, maybe one more thing. I don't know if this is the last thing. I might, having some I might come with some other thoughts. But at least one more thing I'd like to share, which is very interesting, very helpful. I think this is partially mental as well, and really appreciate that you guided me through this journey or through this process. You were letting me to question what is deep in my mind when stuttering happens,
Mm,
right? I was concerned, I was afraid of it from happening.
mhm.
Why this is the case? Why I'm not afraid of eating? Why I'm not afraid of like surfing the internet, having conversation with you, entering into some treatment session or whatever. Why am I not afraid of doing things that I normally do, but I'm afraid of why am I not afraid of speaking English? Why English is not my first language, but why am I not afraid of doing so?
Mhm,
But why am I afraid of stuttering?
mhm,
And yeah, and there's a very nice way that you taught me that basically trying to like, write your minds down, capture your minds when you're having a stutter moment, and trying to and by capturing those, we had a discussion at one of our session, and we go deep why am I having those minds? Why am I having those thoughts?
Mhm.
And we found the deepest reason is that from my childhood, basically people told me starting is not acceptable. Starting is starting is terrible. Starting is something that you should 100% try to avoid, or otherwise you will not be a normal person. You will be terrible, right?
Mhm.
Those are the ideas that has been deeply in my mind, and those are the people that I trust, that I love. And I'm not saying that I should. I'm not saying that they're bad people. Those are very good people that I trust, that I love, that want to help me. But on the other hand, they do not stutter, they don't understand, and they did not have professional training what's the best way to solve, or to handle. I would not say solve, but to handle it's handle this handle this behavior, right? Or handle this activity.
Yeah.
They just think from like normal people. If you can speak fluently, why don't you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then they want to help me. They want to like saying that, hey, calm down, take your time, speaking something slowly, having your thoughtful, be thoughtful, finishing, think of what you're trying to say, and then gradually saying it so that you can avoid from having stuttering. I mean, their mindset is definitely good. They want the best of
Yeah.
me. Yeah, that's for sure. But actually, the idea, the mind that I had when I was a child, from the people that I love or love me, and I trust, it's actually not very helpful, at
Mhm.
least to me at this stage. At when I'm growing up as an adult, this is not helpful for me to solve or to mitigate this issue. And when we explore those deepest mind in my deepest idea, deepest belief in my mind
Mm.
that stuttering is not good, and then we discuss, right, what is the goal, right? Is the goal that having less stuttering, having like no perfect fluency? What is the goal here? And yeah, and we found when we match it together, I I started to realize, oh, the thing that has deeply in my mind for the past 20 years might not be true.
Mm.
when I yeah, when I realize it,
Yeah.
and this
Big.
is almost, I see light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I love what you're sharing that. These are people that loved you dearly and love you dearly, right?
Yes.
And so it's not, they were doing the best and trying to help. But these were ideas that got implanted into your mind, your subconscious mind, and dictated your actions and eventually
Mhm.
how you felt about self, all of that. And so the beautiful thing is that you're all grown up now and you get to decide for you what you believe. And you
Mhm.
can question some of the programming that kind of happens early on. Um, and decide if you want to hold on to that. Is it serving you well? Or this isn't serving me so well. I can actually let it go and embrace the unfamiliar, new, yet freeing way
Yes.
I choose. Yeah. So you took that again, deep thinking and awareness and embracing the new. So
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot for your guidance. Without our therapy, without our process, it's really hard. It's really hard to realize what actually I do really thought when something happened. It's you're correct. It's not directly in my mind. It was in my subconscious mind,
yes.
and by having that piece, finding that piece, and separate that piece out, trying to really understand what caused those subconscious ideas, which sometimes, many times, I do not even realize. Oh, there was an idea flowing around. When I had this, yeah, it was not very obvious, but glad that you helped me. You helped me during this process.
Yeah. Well, you were willing to go there. And the subconscious mind is incredible, right? I mean, these are where all these things are stored. And that's part of this process, is taking stuff from the subconscious mind to the conscious awareness in order to make changes to it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people think, oh, this is such hard work, because it does. It takes focus, attention, but then it can go back. There's a point where it goes back into your subconscious mind. Now that belief has changed. You don't have to
Mm.
think about changing it anymore. It's changed.
Yeah, you're right.
So, and it will be represented in your actions, in
Yes,
how you operate, in the things that you do.
you're right.
We
You're
did
right.
talk about with you too, and I think that you have an advantage in the sense that I believe you have a pretty strong adult self, and people call this different things. This is also tapping into your subconscious mind, but the adult part of you is the part that can be the curious observer and can look at these other things.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking recently, just very recently, about the big protector part that can
Mm-hmm.
sometimes develop with
Yeah.
people who stutter, with experiences with stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
And this part of your mind that involves alerting the limbic system or the amygdala that gets really alerted by stuttering, because stuttering can be perceived as a threat. You might
Mm-hmm.
be thrown out of the tribe, which was not okay back in ancient times, right? In
Mm-hmm.
order to survive and get food, and you had to belong. And so if stuttering is a threat to that, there's going to be an alarm going off in the mind. And that protector part can get really big. I want to keep you safe. So we need to be fluent here. We need to not show stuttering. That's the
Yeah.
part of the brain and so that protector part can get big. We talked about the achiever part. There's some stuff we had in common. There, there is, other parts of our subconscious mind. They are formed when we don't have the ability. It's like it was too much for us. Something was too much for us. So this part of us developed. And um, I think that it's been helpful that your adult self is able to go, okay, yeah, now I can look at that part and I get to make the decision here, or I can consider these different things. We were just getting into values and a little bit of, who are you stuff
Mm-hmm.
also. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
is not, if somebody's listening to this, they might think like, how is this speech therapy and stuttering therapy related? But it's so entwined, right? Like stuttering is so complex. It's not just
Yeah.
an outward physical behavior. We know
Yes.
it's neurophysiological. It's your brain. Okay, this is part of how your brain works. It's a difference from the quote norm of 99% of adults, 1% of
Mm-hmm.
adults stutter. So it is different, and it's normal for people to notice differences, right? And so that's okay too. Um, but yes, I'm not sure where I was going with this. Were you going to share something else? I felt like you might have.
Yeah, so that's all. Those are all very, very true. Yeah, and you're right that statistically, like 1% of the population have stuttering problem. So actually, this is part of the reason why I want to like do this session, do this recording, and share to more people if possible. That you know at least sharing my story, sharing my past, sharing my journey, and I am in a position that I feel comfortable, confident, and I feel free, right? So I wanted to share how I get there, what was previous problem that bothering me, and hopefully this can be helpful to people having similar problems. I mean, 1% of total population like 8 billion people is still 80 million people, right?
Yes.
So I like to be helpful to them. And because I do know how troublesome stuttering can be for many people, at least to myself, I was drawn by by having this be part of me, right? Yeah, and you are correct that I think I'm a logical guy, and I want to think things logically, like straightforward, but in a logical manner. So it's very similar. So it's a good time to summary to have a summary of what are the logics, right? First, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? What is the goal here? Everything we have a goal, right? For today's recording, we have a goal. I want to share how I believe, how my journey is, so that I can be hopefully helpful to others who might think is at least interesting, right? So that was the goal for today's topic, right? So
Yeah.
what was the goal for me having this stuttering treatment? The goal is to be a more effective communicator. That's the goal, right? And then you told me stuttering fluency is just a small part of being effective communicator. And I was thinking of this idea. I thought, this idea makes sense. And you further prove me by sharing that video when I realized, when I see it from myself, I did not bothered by him speaking sometimes stuttering, but I really enjoy the conversation. He is very effective communicating the information to me, to the listener. So I start the second checkpoint. Fluency is just a small part of the goal, which is the effective communicator, right?
Mm.
And then the third checkpoint is that if first and second are true, then
Love this.
why should I be bothered? I stutter, so what? Yeah, when first and second part are true, I stutter, but I still can achieve my goal. This is not a roadblocker I have to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
This is the core belief, right? When I connecting those dots, I start to feel, oh, okay, this is, I see. When I said I see light, it means that I see solution. I'm a logical guy, and when you see solution, you will not be trapped, right? You are desperate because you see no solution, you see no hope. But
Mm.
when you're seeing solution, you're seeing hope, and hopefully this solution is something that you can achieve, you can exercise, you can get. Then you see freedom, you see like peace, you see happiness. So that's the general journey. Because you're correct, starting is complex, and unfortunately, at least up to today, based on my knowledge, starting as an adult very likely is uncurable, it's incurable. You cannot cure that.
Mhm.
Well, if this is the case, this is the fact, right?
Mhm.
And combining with those beliefs, if you had my previous belief, starting will kill you, starting is terrible, then you basically will continue to feel terrible. You're correct that many of the time of a day previously, I was concerned about starting. You have to talk to people during your daily life, and I was constantly concerned. I was constantly troubled. But when this logic, when I connecting those dots and understanding better about this concept, this becomes not an issue. And this is changing this physical problem, something like physical, more focusing on the mental part. How I should, I like the word that you use, desensitize, or how I should, in my simple word, how I should feel normal, how I should feel comfortable and
Mhm.
acceptive for a piece of me that I enjoy of being myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah, I like to share my journey. I mean, we're making tremendous progress. I like to, continue to make this progress. But at least I like to share my journey, share how I think, how I feel right now compared to before, and hopefully this can be helpful to others who might have similar issues.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for all of the sharing. It's actually beautiful because now we have like a video record of where you're at now. I will say sometimes bringing people through the journey, which can be various amounts of time. Everyone will always ask, how long until I see a change? How long? It's because when you're suffering, you want out, and I get it, but it is a process, and there can be pretty fast changes. This has been a fast change. So in my years of experience, 7 to 8 sessions, just one-on-one. You haven't even been with a group. Did you observe the group one time?
Actually, yeah, I observed the group once. Yeah, the group session is always helpful and at least interesting exploration for sure.
Yes. Yes. And some people do all of their therapy through the group therapy, which is
Mm.
powerful. And that is something we'll see. So when I would love to, okay, wait, let me finish this thought, which is a lot of people get to the end of their journey and they're out there living and life is amazing. I'm out and about. I stutter. I know how to handle it. Yes, sometimes an old pattern comes up, an old response, I feel whatever, but I know what to do. I'm empowered. I've got my
Yes.
mind has changed about it.
Mhm.
They don't even see how far they've come. They don't
Mhm.
even remember, like, oh, when we first met, remember you just shook your head yes and no and tried to speak as little as possible. Like, they don't even remember that anymore because their present way of operating has changed so much. So I love this. Sometimes it's hard to see the change when you're in it. The people around you may be able to give you the feedback, but this is a
Mhm.
wonderful touchstone for you now to have, like, oh, that's where I was at that point. I would love to do this again with you down the line and do a touch
Yes, of
point
course.
then and say, since this last time, you've done all these other things and what's happened. Let's touch base again if you're up for it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I'm totally up for it. I think it's a very helpful checkpoints, touch points that hopefully that we can do again. At in some future time, so that I see where I am compared to where I am today. Right,
Yes.
and maybe yeah, and maybe two last thoughts to share. Right.
Yeah.
So first is that yeah, I feel that with all this change, this made me a better person actually. Yeah, because I would not be constantly bothered about the idea I am terrible. I am not normal. This is
Mm,
this is very sad,
yes.
unfortunately, and I feel the pain. I
Mhm.
was there like 20 years for 20 years or for a great number of those 20 years.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly questioning yourself, if you're constantly bothered, be concerned
Yeah.
and you have no solution. Right? Starting cannot be cured based on my understanding. You have no solution. Then you are in a different spot. You're in a different spot, no matter you talk or not. You're in a different spot compared to where I am now. Right? I feel free. I feel joyful. I feel appreciate appreciated. Right? But I feel thankful. I appreciate all these great things happening to my life. Right? This is this make me I think this make me a better person or at least semi free. And yeah, so I think the second point is yeah, which is the last point is that um I think by having this understanding will interestingly reduce the amount of stutter that happened in my daily life. I mean, we discussed it. This is a nice byproduct to have, which I agree. This is not the purpose, right? We're not trying to like cure or reduce stuttering. We're trying to like set ourselves free when it actually happens and try to be an effective communicator. This is the goal. But a very good, interesting byproduct is that when I set myself free, when I changing my mind, changing my belief, the actual stutter happened less in my daily life. So, I'm not completely, let's say that I'm not completely like, 100% free. This is nothing. This is like no big deal, no problem. Let's go ahead and handle it directly. I feel that I'm maybe like 70% there. It's not
Wow.
100%, but still,
Wow.
this has changed significantly. Before I was like 0%.
Wow, we haven't talked about percentages like that. So that's really
Yeah,
helpful for me to hear too. I am going to have you fill out some of the rating scales and stuff that we did at the beginning now
sure.
to see where you're at. And that can help us, along with these discussions,
Mhm.
to tweak what's going on in therapy, because therapy is an art form as much as it is a science. And
Yeah.
we're just, okay, now how do we meet the needs that are apparent? Also, your logical mind is probably going to love seeing, like, oh, wow, here's the shifts. These things have improved greatly. Okay, wait a second. How come this one hasn't? Why is this still hanging out here? Then
Mhm.
that's helpful for both of us to see. So this is really a team effort, right?
Yes, indeed.
I'm coming alongside you, but truly you're making the changes. And um, yeah, it's been beautiful to watch and to see, and I'm excited to see the layers unfold from here. And
Thank you. Thank
journeys
you.
go like this too, right? So we're not expecting just like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like stuff
Yeah.
happens and that's okay. And honestly, it's very helpful and empowering to learn how to ride out, especially since inherently within stuttering is fluctuation, even, situational, but neurological fluctuation, I'll call it. Being able to not resist and
Hmm.
embrace and allow the fluctuations is literally part of getting free too.
Yes.
This doesn't rock you where you don't have
Yeah.
to try to get control back when stuttering increases.
Mm.
And there's a lot of different things that can help you do that versus
Mhm.
just the concept of it.
Mhm.
But yes, writing that out and getting to these places, it's I'm excited to keep working with you. And
Yeah, thank you. Thank
July,
you.
do you have a last, like the visual? Do you have a visual for where you're at now?
Yeah,
You're giving
definitely.
us an idea as you talk about it, and then we'll check in on that too a
Yeah.
little bit down the line, maybe in another month or two or so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's a very good point to finish today's conversation, which is I feel that I'm, this is a imagination, right? But I feel that I'm in a like broad grassland right now. The wind is breezing, very comfortable. The temperature is perfect, right? I feel like springtime,
Ooh.
and there's there's nothing there. Very broad, grassland. The weather is beautiful. It's so green. It's so like there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of nature moment there, and I there's no path, so it means that I still explore. I'm still exploring, but still I feel like free. I feel be be in the nature, and I see opportunity.
Hmm. So you're out in the nature versus in that dark prison.
Yes, yes, of course, yeah, definitely.
Mhm, prison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's daylight everywhere.
Like,
Of course.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's just been wonderful. I'm sure this is going to help inspire more people and give them hope to hold on and to also open their minds, even to get beyond the fluency focus. That can be a
Yes,
challenge for people.
yes,
And
correct.
like you said, it's never been our focus to learn a fluency strat. We've not worked on nothing physically, actually, at
Mhm.
this point, nothing at all. And interestingly, you notice this byproduct of more your spontaneous fluency that you're not trying to create that has no control on it. And
Mhm.
we want to just carefully observe and let that be there with no attachment to it. Meaning
Yes.
you don't, soon as we try to grasp and hold on to that,
Mhm.
that's a piece of control. So we just let that be there and be like, well, that's interesting. But sometimes there's a point where you just don't care anymore, whether it's
Yeah, you're right.
more fluent or there's more stuttering even. You said something I've never heard you say yet either too. What did you say? Like, I stutter, so what? Or something like that. You said that
Yes.
earlier.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I started this is part of me. So what? I'm acceptive to myself.
Yeah. This
Hmm.
attitude that you're acquiring is really powerful.
Yes.
It's something that even when people deal with anxiety and other things,
Hmm. Hmm.
sometimes you have to take it along with you. Like, all right,
Yes.
anxiety and these other, you know what? You're coming with me because I'm living my life.
Hmm.
I'm living my life. I'm taking the stuttering with me. I'm
Hmm.
taking the anxiety with me. I'm choosing to live. And
Yes.
that's a really nice mindset too. Okay, we could
Mhm.
talk forever, both of us. So I'm going to cut us off. Do you want the final word? Is there anything else you want to end on? And then we'll be done.
Well, yeah, this is a interesting journey. This is super helpful. Yeah, I'm glad that we have opportunity to connect, and yeah, hopefully that others seeing this video, seeing this discussion, can be at least helpful to you. At least you can see one potential way to deal with the stuttering if you have similar problem, or if you have similar fact actually.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. So we're going to sign off here. Let me just stop it. Thank you.